I am the capital city.
We can actually take it from the start, explaining in depth what is the IDP.
Oh, thank you very much for hosting us. Yes, the IDP is a very, very important strategic document from the city of Tshwane. We are doing a plan for the next 5 years. As you know that at the end of this year, we'll be having elections.
Yes.
So as the new council comes in, we will be basically having a draft plan to see how are we going to address community needs, what programs are we going to take for the next 5 years, and respond to issues that are being raised by communities. So the IDP is an integrated plan. It includes sector plans from the departments. Each and every department will indicate what is it that they want to prioritize, what is it that they want to achieve over the next 5 years. So all the programs and projects that the departments would want must be included in the IDP itself.
Yes.
So it's an integrated plan. It's not a sector plan, but it's how the sector plans come together to have a bigger impact on service delivery.
You've mentioned that it takes us through the next 5 years. If you can just highlight for us some of the plans that the local government has for the city of Tshwane, for the people of Tshwane.
Yes. If you look, we've just completed community participation with our communities. We were consulting communities to hear what are their challenges, what are their daily needs, and how do they see us improving service delivery in their communities. Now we've been to different venues. We've gone as far as Sokulumi up to Winterfell. We've been to Mabupani, we've been to Soshanguve, Oliven Old Bosch, Mamelodi, Nelmapias, Yesteras. And all these communities have basically given us a wish list of all the projects that they want the city to start looking at in order for them to be able to improve their lives. Now, going forward is that the departments must now look at the list of issues that were submitted by communities, start to understand where are the problems in our communities, and then when they start to plan for their projects and programs, they then respond over the next 5 years to issues that were raised. So when they plan their projects, they must now look at these are the challenges, how do we respond as a municipality to improve service delivery. So they will be able to now start saying in the next first year, in terms of transport plans, where are we going to do our taxi ranks? How are we going to improve buses taking people from where they
One
live
point to another. Yes.
another? Sports amenities, how are we going to have a 5-year plan in terms of our sports strategy, our local economic development strategy, how are we going to create jobs as a city, how are we going to leverage from private sector creating jobs. Disaster management, where are we going to put in our fire stations? We are doing one in Mamelodi now, Mamelodi East. We are almost completing it. Our next one will be in Soshanguve, in Kleppresfontein. We are doing plans now. Behind the scenes, we are designing building plans. We are securing land for these future development projects. So we do a lot of planning behind the scenes, but those plans are being informed by what the issues that the community raise. There are many departments that I also want to mention. For example, our economic development. We are dealing with private sector. We are trying to attract investment to the city of Tshwane. We are doing a Silverton project where investors will start doing factories. We are dealing with challenges around Babelech industrial areas, Mabupan industrial areas, Karankua industrial areas. So a lot of departments are tackling their sector plans in response to what the communities have requested us to do.
Why would it be that the city of Tshwane has seen this to be necessary, that it has an integrated development plan?
Yes, you see, yes, the integration part comes when we have to prioritize. We also recall that departments have a big wish list, but because of limited budget allocations that we have, we need to see which projects will have a biggest impact on communities. Now, the departments will first start to do their sector plans. We We then come to a budget steering committee where we all sit together and say, this department has prioritized that project, but if that project could be linked with another project from another department, the impact in that particular area will be of higher magnitude. So working together as departments and not planning in silos helps us to integrate the plans and make sure that together we are able to deliver much better products.
Services, yes. Now that we are waiting the budget speech from the mayor, how does the IDP link to the budget speech?
You see, the IDP is the process that leads to the allocation of budget. As you indicated, we've engaged with communities, we have engaged with departments to say that these are the issues that the communities need. The departments have gone into their planning, they've started to identify priority projects, and all those projects have now come together to become a municipal budget. That budget must be within the allocations.
Yes.
We've got grant funding that we receive from national departments. We've got grant funding that we receive from provincial government. We also have other state entities like your PRASA, your ESCOM.
Yes.
They also bring in their challenges. They also tell us what is it that they'll be implementing and how we can work together. Now that integration, it means that we are now having one plan that the city will then drive. And from that one plan, we are able to sit and budget, move resources as people complain to say we're not doing A and B. We have now shifted the budget to make sure that with the minimum budget allocations that we are having, we are able to implement service delivery programs to communities.
All right. Now we understand that you came into office late last year and you came into contact with COVID. How has this changed the way you do things? Because the IDP seeks for you to go into the community, to speak to the community members. How did you handle this?
Yes, we've had to adapt to the challenges imposed by COVID. We recall previously we'd have invisors where we have crowds of people at the stadiums and the executive mayor will then address them. Now we've had to also try and now be innovative to use social media platforms. We have a Tshwane app that we're utilizing. We had social media publications. We've got our IDP sitting on the website. We've also had radio interviews where MMCs provided speeches on how we are going to be delivering the IDP and projects that will be delivered, and communities were able to use that platform. Again, the Office of the Speaker indicated that in communities where these social media platforms are not there, we are able to go in those communities, comply with the COVID-19 regulations, provide sanitizers to our communities, making sure that people, when they come to our meetings, they wear masks and they sit 1 meter apart in our meetings. So we've had platforms where we didn't have any other choice but to go to communities and provide those engagements.
All right. Mr. Andy Manyama, thank you so much for your time. As we received the update from Mr. Andy, we will now be heading over to the mayor as he will be giving us the budget speech.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Andy. All right.
Okay.
Folks, we can hear 400 people talking here.
In the 2021 budget speech, I expect government to talk about how they're going to spend more on infrastructure, healthcare, and education.
My expectations are that for the government to have fair and equal distribution of funds, And now that we're living in a pandemic, I expect them to have the health sector as their main focus. The positive changes that I've seen are stable electricity. It's a bit safer in Hatfield, like for students and all that in the evenings. Also Wi-Fi, like connection is faster. And I think the government should focus at Mamelodi, Soshanguve, Mabopane and Hammanskraal, because infrastructure there is very bad. The roads are bad. And also service delivery again, they like that.
Some of the positive changes that I've seen during COVID-19 where there were donations to disadvantaged families. So that for me was a good change that could be implemented in the future. And it could be going not because of COVID-19, but also because the families need that donations always. The key focus areas, I think, should be Klepgat and the surrounding areas being OD, Beki, because those are the areas where I've seen that there's a bit of ignorance, but if they focus on those areas, a bit of change could be made. And like, there are elderly people who are not even recognized, they're living alone, they need some sort of support, some sort of visits, like once in a while, donations, health-wise, they should focus on those areas.
So what I'm expecting from the budget speech is I'm hoping that the government, at least lets us know that they are going to use some of the money to improve some of the infrastructure here in Pretoria, just to deal with some of maybe the potholes, get some of the robots working, maybe even if they can help out with some businesses, it would be cool. I think the most positive change I've seen is, especially in Pretoria East, the parks. They've really increased, not increased, but they've made the parks cleaner and better and more pleasant for us to go visit.
One of the changes that I've seen is the putting of the street lights in some of the areas of Sunnyside and here in Central around Paul Kruger Street.
Yeah, well, the key focus areas that I think should be attended to are, even touching on the first question, more so of just facilities for the public, things like running water, running electricity, better functioning hospitals, those kind of things.
I would like them to focus on Mayville. With electricity, there's lights, it's not been attended to, and it's a bit dangerous there at night. for our safety. I expect the government to help the people on the streets, help the poor, homeless, people that can't help themselves, even the little children. Well, build libraries too.
With regards to the Tshwane budget speech, I would like to see the government invest more in the youth, as most students are struggling to get funding. Most students couldn't even go back to university. So it would be really nice to see the government take extra precautions in making sure that every student in South Africa gets a proper education. The positive changes from the previous budget speech are that I see an improvement in basically the litter around the town. The town is really kept well clean, which I love that a lot.
My expectations for the upcoming budget speech is for them to show us on what they've did with last year's budget, and that can give us more ideas on what to look on further. So looking at things like toilets, chilling here in Church Square, we don't have toilets and there's a lot of people coming in and out of Church Square. So that actually affects our hygiene when we think of it. So if we can just have enough toilets, I think we'll be okay.
I think it's going to be aimed towards healthcare and just tackling the pandemic, and maybe towards helping develop a little bit of economic recovery.
The key focus areas that should be attended to is Lotus Garden Sports Complex. And that sports complex, there are no poles, some of the places, and is dead here.
The previous positive changes I've seen after the Tshwane budget speech is our Tshwane buses, as of Arieng buses. They more improved to the places like Westview, West Park and Denville as well. Yeah, and the infrastructure of Church Square as well. The areas which have been improved using the budget is first of all Sunnyside, Church Square and Pretoria West as well.
May we now observe a moment of silence in prayer or meditation, please. Amen. Thank you very much, Honorable Councillors. Councillors, in line with Level 1 COVID regulations, please ensure that at all times you wear your mask, you sanitize regularly, and you observe social distancing, because the seats already are marked that you're not supposed to be sitting close to one another. And I'm happy to see that you are all cooperating. You have your masks on. Councillors, all of you, please put on your masks. I don't have to call you one by one. Councillor Lee, put on your mask. Yes, so that we are fully in compliant. I listened to the Premier recently explaining that Gauteng has entered its third wave. So we always have to be mindful and protect each other from this pandemic. With that said, thank you very much, Honorable Councillors, for your cooperation and discipline. And we proceed. Honorable Councillors, the city have learned with shock and sadness of the passing of Mr. S.K. Mahlangu, the Deputy Chairperson of the Amandebele Nzunza Sokhulumi Traditional Council. On behalf of the city of Tshwane, I extend our sincere condolences to the Mahlangu family, the Amandebele Nzunza Sokhulumi Traditional Council, and the community at large. We are honored to have known and worked with Mr. Mahlangu and in all our interaction with the Traditional Council. Honorable Councillors, we will always remember him for his ever-present smile and his calm way of dealing with issues, and all his firm inputs during our meetings that we have held with them. In honor of the fallen leader, may I request that we observe a moment of silence in his honor, please. May the spirit of the departed rest in eternal peace in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you, Honorable Councillors. Councillors, the purpose of today's special council meeting is to allow the Executive Mayor to deliver the budget speech. And I do believe that we are all looking forward to hear what the Mayor has as it relates to the finances of the city. And we now move to the second item of this meeting, which is application for leave of absence. And please be informed that the approved leave of absence will be sent to my office and we'll deal with it administratively. And item C is official notices. There are none. Item D is unopposed proposals by the Speaker and other proposals allowed by the Speaker. There are none. And we move directly to the main item of today's business, which is the delivery of the budget speech by our Executive Mayor. Honorable Councillors, I now call on the Executive Mayor to deliver his speech. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Madam Speaker, Honourable Chief Makana and his entourage, Chief Whip of Council, Leader of Executive Business, members of the Mayoral Committee, Chair of Chairs, Chairpersons of the Section 79 committees, leaders of all political parties represented in Council, Honourable Aldermen and Councillors, officials and top management of the City of Tshwane, members of the media, and residents of Tshwane. Welcome to you all, and thank you for joining me today. It is a great honor and a privilege to deliver this budget speech before this chamber. This budget speech comes after our state
O e rekile kae bjang?
Honorable councillors on Microsoft Teams, please mute yourselves. And if I may ask that we mute all councillors, please, so that we can proceed. Executive Mayor, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I was saying, this budget speech comes after our State of the City address, where we highlighted and reflected on the journey that we have been taking as this administration to restore hope and deliver quality services to our residents. Madam Speaker, it is a fact that the city we inherited as this administration had been badly neglected by the administrators that had been illegally appointed by the provincial government. We found that in many cases, core service delivery had effectively stopped, threatening the livelihood of our residents. Furthermore, the city finances were in a dire state, requiring urgent attention. We found a massive budget deficit of over 2 billion rand when we took office in November of last year. This meant that stabilizing city finances became a core goal for this administration to enable us to deliver quality services to our Tshwane residents. Indeed, Madam Speaker, our efforts are reflected in the 2021-22 budget that we are presenting before this Council. It is a budget that is geared towards stabilizing the city finances and driving quality service delivery. As a city, we also face the global challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic, which negatively impacted our revenue collection rates during the hard lockdown period. Collection levels had dropped to as low as 75% in the months when the administrators were in office. However, since coming to office, this administration in a period of 6 months was able to improve collection rates to the current levels of 90%. Although we have made significant progress in this regard, we acknowledge that the current level of 90% is still below the National Treasury standard of 95%. This means that we must continue to stabilize the city's revenue collections. Madam Speaker, the truth is, even before COVID-19 and its subsequent negative impact, South Africa was already in a technical recession. The pandemic worsened an already difficult period in our country with rising unemployment and poverty levels. Given the strain on the national fiscus, we can expect to see a decline in the allocation to the provincial and local government spheres. Municipalities in South Africa are expected to be largely self-reliant on own income and revenue generation to provide basic services. Confronted with all these challenges, it is important that we work smart with the limited resources at our disposal. This will require us to focus our attention on creating a budget which focuses on core service delivery priorities which are informed by the needs of our communities. Madam Speaker, our work had already begun on this. Through this Council passing an adjustment budget that looked to stabilize city finances and better align our resources to deliver key services to our people for the remainder of the 2020-21 financial year. We then had to formulate a strategically viable and sound 21-22 budget informed by our objectives and priorities as set out in the Integrated Development Plan. This specifically speaks to providing a budget that is strategically and financially credible. However, it must also be affordable. The 2021-22 budget is prepared in the midst of a difficult economic climate. In formulating this budget, we were guided by key principles, which included that the budget must be aligned to the core mayoral priorities and the 10-point plan, which focuses on the following areas. 1, prioritization of the electrical grid and water infrastructure. 2, implementation of a robust COVID-19 management strategy. 3, creating a reliable waste and refuse removal service. 4, providing stringent financial management and oversight. 5, enhancing city safety and emergency services. 6, promoting employment and economic growth in the city. 7, supporting the vulnerable and providing social relief. 8, fast-tracking development by cutting red tape. 9, expansive financial cost-cutting across city processes. 10, maintain and expand road infrastructure. The task before us, Madam Speaker, is not an easy one. We must restore hope to Tshwane residents through quality service delivery guided by a sound budget. However, it's a task that we are ready for, and the budget that has been prepared is a demonstration of our commitment to making Tshwane financially stable, safe, and a city that delivers to its residents. Balancing the finances of the city is crucial in helping us to strengthen our relationship with financial institutions such that we can improve our credit ratings and access finances that we can use towards growth and development of the city. It is indeed our long-term vision to see Tshwane become a hub of opportunities for our residents. Such opportunities will be enabled by growing the city economy and creating jobs to ensure an inclusive society where as many people in the city can share in its economic viability. To achieve our long-term goals for the city starts with the work that we do today. It also requires a stable political and administrative leadership that will inspire confidence in the markets and enable small to medium and large enterprises to view our city as a competitive place to do business and invest in. We put before the Council a 2021-22 budget that is financially viable and one that is fully funded. This is a sound and realistic budget that sensibly allocates expected revenue to the achievement of core service delivery priorities as set out in the Integrated Development Plan. In compiling this budget, the city had to adjust its spending levels downwards after taking into consideration the projected decline in revenue collection. The reality is the city has seen a decline in its revenue collection. This as an increasing number of customers are defaulting on their municipal accounts. Unfortunately, the culture of non-payment remains a challenge that we need to address urgently. During the period under which the city was under administration, we did not receive payment from 28% of billed monthly municipal accounts, and this makes up 72% of the debt owed to the city. This led to the debtor book to increase significantly from 12.6 billion rand as of 30 March last year to 17.1 billion rand as of 30 October last year. This can be attributed to the drop in payment levels. As a city, we need to take responsibility, including all of us here in Council, to collectively encourage customers to pay for the services they consume. Furthermore, as the administration, we have put plans in place which includes fast-tracking the installation of prepaid meters, removing illegal connections, and implementing appropriate debt collection actions. With the current economic climate and our financial position, now is not the time to dream and make unrealistic promises. If we want to restore the financial health of the city, we need to formulate goals that match the expected realistic revenue targets. The 2021-22 budget assumes a collection rate of 92%. In setting this target, we made sure that expenditure was critically reviewed and scaled down to ensure a financially viable and funded budget. Madam Speaker, the city is tabling an operating revenue budget which excludes capital grants and contributions of 39 billion rand, which escalates to 43.5 billion in 2023-24 financial year. The revenue represents an increase of 4.1% against the 2020-21 adjustment budget. The operating expenditure amounts to 39 billion, an increase also of 4.1% against the 2021 adjustment budget, resulting in a surplus of 9.4 million rand for the 2021-22 financial year. The city is also tabling a capital budget that amounts to 3.7 billion rand for the 2021-22 financial year, 3.8 billion for 22-23, and 3.9 billion for 23-24. This budget has been prepared with the intention of keeping rates and tariff increases as low as possible through identified cost-cutting and savings. The city, therefore, took a firm decision to keep increases within our control as low as possible. Property rates will increase only by 2%, while refuse removal charges will increase by 4.1%. The property rates increase we are proposing is the lowest in the city's history, and we have noted the positive feedback that has been received from residents in this regard. Of particular concern, however, was the steep increase of 15.63% in the cost of bulk purchases from Eskom, effective from 1st April of this year. The city has no other choice but to pass this cost increase onto customers, and a tariff increase of 14.59% effective from 1st July this year is proposed in the 21-22 budget. Similarly, the city is bound by the tariff increase for bulk purchases of water from Rand Water, compelling the city to increase the water tariff by 8%, while sanitation charges will increase by 10%. It is important to note that water and electricity tariffs are mainly influenced by the Rand Water and Eskom tariffs, respectively. As the consumption of electricity, water, and by implication, sanitation can be managed by residents, I implore you to manage and track your consumption. Furthermore, all residential properties are not charged any property rates on the first 150,000 Rand of the value. This comes at a cost of 900 in terms of foregone revenue as part of our social relief program. Registered indigenous households pay no property rates and continue to benefit from other social relief benefits offered by the city. Our total social relief value to registered indigenous households amount to 1.4 billion rands. As a caring administration fully aware of the economic difficulties faced by our country, we are committed to doing all we can to ensure that the city of Tshwane is an affordable place to live. We have implemented several cost containment measures during the budget process, and these will be strictly monitored. Our cost-saving measures include the following. A limited number of critical vacancies were considered in order to ensure service delivery is maintained. No overtime will be processed unless for essential services. Measures must be put in place to manage the costs of bulk purchases downwards. Departments are required to review all contracts for value for money. All leases and rental buildings must be renegotiated. Fleet contracts must be reviewed for better rates and value for money. Market analysis should be conducted before a tender is issued or a quote is requested. The appointment of consultants will be strictly monitored and focused towards revenue enhancement initiatives and the implementation of capital projects. Budgeting for all events has been severely restricted and centralized under marketing and communications. In addition to our cost containment measures, 7 key guiding principles for the budget were also implemented as follows. Projects and programs will be implemented within affordability limits. City projects that are ready for implementation will be prioritized in the 21-22 financial year. The operating expenditure baseline was reduced, and the focus will be on efficiency gains and the principle of value for money, doing more with less while prioritizing service delivery. Where needed, programs will be deferred to the outer years in order to ensure that the city approves operating expenditure in line with realistically anticipated revenue. One of the biggest aims of our 21-22 budget is to invest in Tshwane's future. As such, we are pushing to expend as much as we can in building and refurbishing the infrastructure that is the backbone of our city. The budget allocation for our utilities department is one that will accelerate our gains and ensure that Tshwane's future will be secure and prosperous. The utility service department looks after the bulk provision of both electricity, water and sanitation. The power that fuels our homes and economy and the water that sustains our beautiful city. It is a key department when it comes to building a successful and functioning municipality as it provides residents and businesses with critical infrastructure. That is why in the 21-22 budget, we have made provision for 1.176 billion rands for the utility service department's capital budget. That is over 31% of the total capex budget for the city, showing that our words are backed by real investment. A few of the broad investment areas for both new infrastructure, maintenance and refurbishments are replacement of worn-out water pipes, which amounts to 95 million rand, electricity for all, 93 million rand, street lights, 95 million rand, smart prepaid meters, smart prepaid meters, 45 million rand, 95 million rand into replacing worn-out water pipes does not only prevent bursts and the resulting water outages, but also decreases water leaks, which means less water is lost, saving the city money and preserving this key resource. Our effort to secure 95 million rand for streetlights will go a long way to brightening our city and making a visible difference in the lives and safety of our residents. We are also investing heavily into developing the infrastructure in specific areas of our city which are rapidly growing, and they are Shoshanguve substation upgrade, 25 million rands, Ekangala sewer reticulation and toilets, 78 million rands, Kudube sewer reticulation, 60 million rands, Mamelodi water and sanitation services, 48 million rands. Our government is one that cares about all regions of the city, and we are serious about committing the budget such that it will make a major improvement to the lives of our residents. We are directing significant resources to resolving the challenges our city in terms of critical water infrastructure. Rooiwal wastewater treatment works, finalization of phase 1 upgrades will cost us 124 million rand. Klipgat wastewater treatment works upgrade, 85 million rand. Bronkhorstspruit Bay water purification plant, 75 million rand. Water conservation and demand management, 90 million rand. Madam Speaker, I acknowledge that there is still more work that needs to be done to fix the serious issues facing many parts of our city when it comes to water provision and our treatment of wastewater. It is a core priority which we are tackling from multi angles. It is critical that we maintain this infrastructure and refurbish it properly. To do so require long-term planning and preparation so that we can ensure that we forecast our needs well into the future and budget in advance to allocate the appropriate funding for the maintenance and development of our infrastructure. Our utilities department is on the front line of providing core service delivery and is a crucial department in maintaining and developing critical infrastructure. Madam Speaker, the City of Tshwane has a core responsibility to ensure that we provide basic service delivery. There are everyday operational matters that must be prioritized in order for us to provide quality services to the residents of our city. This is driven by our Regional Operational Center, which has the responsibility for various activities across the city. With an allocation of 900 million rand, the ROC, as it is known, will be ensuring that we maintain our infrastructure through the following interventions. Electrical grid infrastructure repairs and maintenance is budgeted at 245 million rand, which is critical when we are responding to electrical outages. Our street lights maintenance is allocated 90 million rand. To be proactive in keeping our city illuminated, we are tracking this on a daily basis so that we create a well-lit and illuminated city. Maintaining our water infrastructure is vital in keeping our water distribution losses to a minimum. Water leaks have been allocated 72 million rand alone to ensure that our plumbers can stay on top of pipe bursts as they occur. We have also allocated 67 million rand for sewer maintenance to address blockages and protect the sanitation system. When it comes to road maintenance, an amount of 137 million rand is allocated. This includes reactive maintenance to the value of 62 million rand, which looks to address potholes and road repairs. Resurfacing has allocated 25 million rand to ensure we keep our roads at an acceptable standard. We maintain our commitment to eradicating sinkholes across the city with an amount of 28 million rand, repairing these areas. Keeping our city looking neat is crucial to inspire confidence and pride in the municipality. As such, horticultural services, grass cutting and pruning is allocated approximately 76 million rand to cut grass at city parks, sidewalks, pavements, and open public spaces so that our city looks beautiful and manicured. A further 48 million rand will be focused on particular facilities such as cemeteries, libraries, swimming pools, and sporting facilities so that they are maintained at an acceptable standard for our residents. We are also pushing a micro upgrades program for wards across the city. This will aim to ensure that we can do mini projects in wards such as the installation of traffic calming measures such as speed bumps, traffic circles, fencing of facilities, street light or traffic light installation. It will demonstrate viable service delivery to our residents based on inputs they have sent through to their ward councillors. This is the first such ward development program and has been implemented in the city. I want to thank all those ward councillors who participated and who sourced and submitted inputs. These funds are spread out across facilities and locations in the city's 7 regions so that all residents benefit from quality service delivery. We have crafted a budget that is inclusive and provides services to all who live in Tshwane. Madam Speaker, we are committed to charting a path towards a more resilient capital city through our Economic Development and Spatial Planning Department. We have directed 59.4 million rand towards proactive and reactive repairs and maintenance work on aging buildings and other properties across the city. These will ensure that the city properties are compliant with occupational health and safety standards, conducive for both the public and employees to operate in. These include office buildings, the fresh produce market, customer care centres, as well as community halls. A total of 29.9 million will be channeled towards cleaning services to ensure that the city's properties meet the hygiene standards required by law. These funds will also be expanded in activities aimed at curbing the spread of COVID-19 across the city's facilities. A number of CAPEX projects to the value of 14.7 million rand are proposed for the 21-22 financial year, aimed at positioning the fresh produce market to render an improved service. The market will undergo various repairs and maintenance projects, including the upgrading of security services and the AIDS ICT infrastructure and development of a disaster recovery site for the market's ICT infrastructure to ensure continuity during disaster. A turnover of 3.494 billion has been budgeted for the fresh produce market for the 21-22 financial year. Another major focus is the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone, Phase 1 bulk infrastructure rollout, has a budget allocation of 60 million rand. This will ensure that the city has a sustainable infrastructure-led economic recovery and growth plan. We are also strengthening city planning and budgeting control to assist in driving economic growth. The Development, Compliance and Legislation section within the department has been allocated 5.4 million rand for functions including the Municipal Planning Tribunal and the review of the land use bylaw. Our land use scheme and toponymy section is allocated 24.5 million rand, which includes the costs for reviewing the Tshwane land use scheme. The department is also in the process of activating a number of tourism initiatives, including the Cullinan Diamond Mine Museum and the rebranding of the unique township tourism offerings, efficient, effective and affordable transport services. Madam Speaker, the Road and Transport Department forms a core part of our plans to deliver quality and mobility efficient services to Tshwane residents. It is entrusted to ensure the provision of a safe transport system and well-constructed and maintained road infrastructure network in the city. The department aims to achieve this by addressing road construction and stormwater infrastructure backlogs. The department's plans also include the provision of the integrated rapid public transport network. Our successful planning and implementation of the IRPTN network infrastructure has been the backbone of the BRT system, and we intend to continue further into the new financial year. The funding of the infrastructure is critical to the capital city having an efficient transport system. BRT transport infrastructure allocated 408.7 million rands. Automated fare collection, 10 million rand. Stormwater drainage, Mahube Valley, 20 million rand. Upgrading of road from gravel to tar in Ekangala, Ward 103, 104 and 105, 45 million rand. Upgrading of Sibande Street in Mamelodi, 15 million rand. Arieng operations have been allocated 20.3 million rand. The city of Tshwane has the objective of developing an integrated transport system that meets the needs of all the people of Tshwane in a sustainable and affordable manner. This is why we are extending Arieng operations to enable better access to public transportation across the city. We have also prioritized interventions pertaining to Wonderboom Airport. The capital city must have a commercially viable and well-administered civilian airport. Wonderboom National Airport is a strategic asset for the city. However, it is in need of critical infrastructure upgrades to leverage its economic potential fully. Working with Airports Company South Africa, we are investing significantly in the development of the airport. Madam Speaker, one of the biggest aims of the 21-22 budget is to invest in Tshwane's future. To do so, we strive to ensure that we work in a clean and healthy environment. This is a task that is entrusted to the Department of Environment and Agricultural Management. The department's work includes improving the city's aesthetics, protecting our natural environment, and to facilitate appropriate development initiatives in rural areas of the city through food security interventions. The department's 3 divisions, waste management, environmental management, and agricultural management services, have a number of key deliverables, which include the following: introduce an improved waste collection model, provide a more efficient management model for landfills and garden sites, intensify fight against illegal dumping, further expand waste collection services, continue upgrading resorts and reserves, ensure all city departments comply with environmental regulations, improve support to small-scale farmers by introducing new innovative farming methods, and increase access to markets. To deliver on our mandate, the operational expense allocations to the department's 21-22 budget are as follows: 626 million rand for household refuse removal, including informal settlements, 43 million rand for clearing of illegal dumping and rehabilitation, 74 million rand for management of landfill and garden sites, 1.8 million rand for agricultural programs and projects, 32 million rand for departmental infrastructure and maintenance. While a large portion of the department's budget allocation goes towards operational expenses, it also has capital investment projects to carry out, which include the following: 3.5 million rand to upgrade infrastructure at Boyson's Nursery, 500,000 rand for improvements at Heatherley Cemetery, 10 million rand for the construction of internal roads at the Centurions Cemetery, 15 million rands for the provision of waste containers to support household refuse removal. Another key performance area for the department is to work towards improving revenue collection. This comes as COVID-19 pandemic has had a major impact on the revenues from resorts and reserves. The department is now hard at work to safely increase the number of visitors while still adhering to COVID-19 regulations. It's a major driver of tourism as it draws people to our city, which stimulates economic growth. We are fully committed towards safeguarding the environment and protecting our natural resources in the municipality. In doing so, we will continue to prioritize the cleanliness of the city of Tshwane and advance quality service delivery. Madam Speaker, City of Tshwane health officials have had to function under testing conditions since the first appearance of the COVID-19 pandemic, as they've had to acquire additional skill sets to deal with the virus and prevent its spread. Despite being at the forefront of the battle against the pandemic, they still maintained a high level of service delivery at clinics, in municipal health provision, and in other areas of their responsibility. The 21-22 budget for the Health Department is aimed at improving access to primary health care services and ensuring that the standard of those services remain at a high level. The operating budget of 541 million rand is intended to cover the running costs of the Health Department. This includes ensuring the smooth running of clinics and providing efficient municipal health services, health promotion campaigns, and the drug and substance abuse programs of the city. The provision of municipal health services remains in the primary responsibility of the Health Department and requires the highest priority. The Municipal Health Services section is responsible for enforcing compliance with 12 different pieces of health legislation developed on national level as well as various bylaws on municipal level. Their purpose is to ensure a safe and healthy environment for all the residents of Tshwane. This includes food safety and security, safe water provision, environmental protection such as noise and pollution control, as well as awareness and health promotion campaigns. The latter is best illustrated by daily visits to hotspots areas to screen and test people for COVID-19. Although the provision of primary health care is a delegated responsibility from the Gauteng provincial government, Tshwane's 24 municipal and 2 mobile clinics fulfill an important role to provide quality healthcare services to Tshwane's community. Clinics are measured against certain criteria. It's called the Ideal Clinic Program on a regular basis and graded accordingly. It makes me proud that all 24 clinics currently have Ideal Clinic status. What makes it even more noteworthy was that this was sustained amid the challenges of COVID-19. We maintain our commitment to combating drug and substance abuse through programs that seek to assist substance abuse users. To achieve this, it will be important to implement the Drug Master Plan and to support the community-oriented substance abuse program initiative and the establishment of drop-in centers in all 7 regions of Tshwane. This also includes the continuous functioning of the Hope Line that provides the necessary assistance to people in need. The budget for these interventions is 33 million rand. The fight against HIV/AIDS, TB, and STIs will continue by, amongst others, implementing door-to-door awareness initiatives, as well as strengthening the multi-sectoral response. A budget of 24 million rand is available for these services. Tshwane remains a hub of economic activity that encourages an increasing number of people to relocate to the city looking for jobs or other economic opportunities. This also impacts on health services, and provision needs to be made to service the medical needs continuously growing in Tshwane, in the Tshwane capital city. A large part of the 62 million rand departmental capital budget is allocated to the construction of Lusaka Clinic in Mamelodi West. Communities have for some time requested additional clinic facilities in this area due to the area's population growth. We are also upgrading our management system. The old manual filing system to keep records of patients has become increasingly ineffective. To ensure effective record keeping of an increasing number of patients, it became imperative for the health workflow system to be electronically upgraded which is also prioritized in the department's budgetary allocation. The Health Department will remain under pressure as the end of the COVID-19 pandemic is not yet in sight. In addition, it is expected that significant time, effort, and resources will be used once the department is actively involved in the vaccination process. This will require joint coordination between the multiple spheres of government. I want to call on all Tshwane residents to fully support our frontline health officials in their work over the coming months. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to state that the Community and Social Development Department is making good progress on its budgeted projects, including allocations for the 21-22 financial year. The upgrading of the Refill West Stadium has been allocated 27.7 million rand. To date, 5 million rand has been spent, with a further 3 million already committed before the financial year ends. This is a multi-year project. The development of Caledonian Stadium has been allocated 35 million rand, with the recent appointment of consultants and contractors. In terms of economic growth and job creation, the Community and Social Development Services Department has been allocated grant funding of 70.1 million rand to create expanded public works program work opportunities within the city. This budget is also going to implement the Gala Lena program, Legata Lena program, that has a target of creating 17,975 work opportunities. Furthermore, the Community and Social Development Services Department has been allocated a budget of 4.6 million rand for the food bank programs. This is to ensure that the poorest of the poor are cleared for and included in terms of being provided with a basic food supplies. Madam Speaker, the creation of a safe and caring city is critical if we are to attract investment and businesses to Tshwane. To do this requires that we properly capacitate our departments so that we can enforce our bylaws and respond appropriately when tragedy strikes in the city. The Emergency Services Department is an integral component of the City of Tshwane Community Safety Cluster, tasked to promote, protect, and sustain lives and livelihoods, resources, and property. The Emergency Service Department's 21-22 capital budget stands at 30 million rand, and while the operating budget is at 898 million rands. This budget allows EMS to respond to the community needs in an effective manner. One of our highlights in the new Mamelodi Emergency Services Station, which will be fully operational by July of this year. We have also budgeted for emergency services tools and equipment to the amount of 7 million rand. These tools will enhance productivity and provide a more effective and efficient life-saving emergency services. Another 6 million rand will be used for the purchases of firefighting materials and emergency medical pre-hospital supplies. We have also budgeted an amount of 5.3 million rand for the repairs and maintenance costs. Promoting and wellness of residents is our central priority, and this administration continues to work tirelessly to live up to that expectation. The Tshwane Metro Police Department is also in the forefront of helping to keep our residents safe through bylaw enforcement, traffic policing, and crime prevention. The 21-22 budget provides for an operating budget allocation of 2.7 million rand for 2.7 billion rand for TMPD. Madam Speaker, we remain committed to launching the first dedicated inner-city policing unit in a major metropolitan city in the country. The work has already begun. We have secured a site for a satellite Tshwane Metro Police Department station, which will be based in the inner city and be supported by 100 TMPD officers. As a reinstated administration that is only 6 months into the job, we consider this to be a massive achievement and progressive step for our city when it comes to active crime prevention. Madam Speaker, as we make advances in offering safety for our residents and fighting crime, our Human Settlements Department is also playing a crucial role in facilitating development and sustainable housing across Tshwane. Our city has a total of 227 informal settlements spread across its 7 regions, with an estimated 345,710 households living in informal settlements. It is worth noting that this is not a matter that is unique to Tshwane. Like many other metropolitan municipalities, the city of Tshwane is not immune to urbanization and its impact of increased demand for safe places of shelter and affordable housing. With this difficult responsibility on its hands, the budget allocated for the Human Settlements Department makes provision for a capital budget of 840 million rand and an operational budget of 395 million rand. The capital budget of the department will, for example, be directed towards the following: water reticulation, 187 million rand; sewer reticulation, 186.4 million rand; roads and storm water construction, 263.8 million rand; hostel redevelopment, 30 million rand; land acquisition, 10 million rand. The funding allocated in terms of the 21-22 budget will enable the department to speed up the formalization of 19 identified informal settlements to achieve township establishment, while providing over 138 informal settlements with temporary services until formal services are installed. The department will also focus largely on upgrading of bulk infrastructure services, as well as installation of internal services in approved townships, both as part of the incremental upgrading of informal settlements and new settlements. This will see areas such as Nalmepius Extension 22, Mabopane Extension 12, Mamelodi Extension 6, Olifantshoutbos Extension 60, Garankuwa Extension 10, and other areas provided with water and sanitation services. Ensuring security of tenure through upscaling and issuing of title deeds remain a strategic priority, and the department intends to cut down the old title deeds backlog by 1,000. This will direct focus to ensuring that a minimum of 80% of new title deeds received from the provincial government are issued, and that we utilize 5 million of the allocated operational budget to open township registers for registration of title deeds in areas such as the new Easteros proper, Extension 4 and Extension 6, Mabopane 5, and Atteridgeville Extension 6 and Extension 7. In partnership with the housing company Tshwane, an amount of 308 million rand has been set aside to deliver a total of 509 social housing units. And it's at the Townlands Phase 2, located in Marabastad, and associated infrastructure development, Timberlands, located in Arcadia, in the incoming financial year. A total of 377 units, which is council rental stock, will also be transferred to HCT as part of the social housing rental portfolio, which will be optimized and managed by HCT. The administration is committed towards ensuring that we construct and build sustainable human settlements so that we can provide quality housing in the city. The prioritization on the upgrading of informal settlements is also crucial so that we can provide quality bulk infrastructure to these areas. This will ensure that we move towards formalization so that they can proceed with proper township establishment processes for these settlements. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the 21-22 budget is a tough balancing act. We have to plan strategically, but most importantly, work on realistic expectations of revenue. This administration has the interests of our Tshwane residents at heart, and so that require that we deliver a budget that is geared towards restoring the financial health of the city. Stable finances will enable us to deliver core services as constitutionally mandated. In contrast to last year, where the budget was largely inaccessible and approved well out of the required legislative timelines, that this year we have prioritized trying to drive robust engagement on the budget through as many platforms as possible. Local government must be inclusive and must be accessible, which is what I have sought to emphasize over the last few months. It is crucial that we restore hope to the residents of Tshwane and demonstrate to them that we are committed towards prioritizing their needs. We must rebuild trust across the city. Rebuilding that trust may mean that sometimes we have to do things differently and make necessary sacrifices. Madam Speaker, I want to leave you with the words of former US President Bill Clinton. The price of doing the same old thing is far higher than the price of change. Indeed, the 21-22 budget compels us to change what we can today in preparation for a better tomorrow. Thank you for joining me today. And thank you, Councillor Masejo, for being here today. May we work together to build a better and stable Tshwane. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I believe we are all agreeing that you have well presented the budget speech for the 2021-22 financial year. And honorable councillors, please note that as pre-scheduled in the annual program, a special council meeting will be held on Thursday, the 27th of May at 10 o'clock, just before our ordinary council meeting, to firstly debate the budget speech and secondly to approve the IDP and the 2021-22 medium-term revenue and expenditure framework for the city of Tshwane. And honorable councillors, kindly note that the budget report and all its supporting documents will be loaded in SharePoint anytime from now if it's not yet loaded, and also the budget speech should be loaded by now so that we can access it. And with those few words, Honorable Councillors, is taking me to the last item of our agenda today, which is closing remarks. Honorable Councillors, let me take this time to thank all of you for your attendance and good discipline. And this meeting is, before I adjourn the meeting, kindly note that the meeting was less than 3 hours. So in terms of the Treasury regulations, and as communicated through the Office of the Chief Whip with all party whips, we will not be serving any refreshments for today. And enjoy the rest of the day. May you all have a blessed day forward. The meeting is officially closed. Thank you very much.
I am the capital city of South Africa, where families, friends, and the world come together. A place of discovery and adventure, where nature shows its beautiful hand, rich in history and heritage.
Are we rolling?
A city of champions, where opportunity awaits and dreams are achieved. I am Tshwane. I am the capital city of South Africa, where families, friends, and the world come together. A place of discovery and adventure, where nature shows its beautiful hand, rich in history and heritage. A city of champions, where opportunity awaits and dreams are achieved. I am Tshwane. I am the
sondeze kakhulu phezulu.
I think it's going to be aimed towards healthcare and just tackling the pandemic and maybe towards helping develop a little bit of economic recovery.
The key focus areas that should be attended to is Lotus Garden Sports Complex. And that sports complex, there are no poles, some of the places, then is dead here.
The previous positive changes I've seen after the Tshwane budget speech is our Tshwane buses is of Rieng buses. They more improved to the places like Westview, West Park and Denville as well. Yeah, and the infrastructure of Church Square as well. The areas which have been improved using the budget is first of all Sunnyside, Church Square and Pretoria West as well. Yeah.
The key focused areas, social movement is an obvious thing, regarding the crime, drugs and stuff, and then Mamelodi also, then your sunny side. The biggest investment that I've seen so far, I would say it's just in education, just in education. The areas that have improved mostly are suburbs, like your Hatfield, your Arcadia. That was what they were focused on.
Fela thuso rena ka mogae le government tsa rena dilo tsa rena tse re di nyakang a kgone go thusa dilo tsa gore mabone a sa bereka ne ba kgone go thusa gore batho ba timang mabone ba kgone go tshwariwa bone ee.
We might even go to ANC and opposition parties, yeah? Sure, we're ready? Because the MMCs are not coming through, you know?
I expect to be told more about how they're going to spend the money on.
The budget speech has been delivered by the Executive Mayor of the City of Tshwane, Councillor Randall Williams. This follows them taking office in November 2020. And he has indicated that they have come across quite a number of challenges. They took over an administration which was a bit complex and which needed much more attention, especially in terms of the deficits that they had faced. But he is quite confident as the Executive Mayor currently to say that they are looking forward to enhancing and doing better for the city of Tshwane, giving the people of the city of Tshwane a better service delivery. We are going to take over once again the MMC for Health, Councillor Deploy, who will be giving us his version, or rather what he was expecting and what he heard from the mayor in terms of the budget speech, his expectations, and what it is that he's hoping that will be tackled in the next coming few months in terms of the budget that is allocated for the health for the people and also to improve where COVID-19 has hit. The councillor mentioned a number of issues relating to HIV and other illnesses which need attention in the city of Tshwane. So at this point in time, we will be taking on Councillor, or rather MMC for Health, Mr. Saki Duploy, who will give us an extensive overview in relation to the budget. Councillor, thank you so much once again for talking to us. If we can just take over, Tshwane is one of the cities notorious for drugs and substance abuse. I think we have seen this in the number of streets in the inner city. Is the city drug master plan working, and what is the proposed budget going on into 2021 and 2022?
Yes, now we are implementing the drug master plan. We've got our own mini plan, but as the mayor just rightly said, we are still to the amount of 33 million going to address this problem in our city. It is massive. We are doing it through various means, but the one is through the community-oriented substance program that is run on our behalf by the University of Pretoria. We have about 17, let's say, clinics, points where people using drugs can come and they find individual assistance. So this program is really assisting us in a very special way for them to have a permanent relief from the substance. And then we also have, just to assist, support is a Hope Line. Yes. Hope Line is where somebody can call 24/7, and we also have transport to go and collect somebody in need, and then they link them up with our clinics, with our sites for COSA. So this is what we do to assist and to really give relief to so many of our young people who are really caught up in this.
In the drug, okay. So Municipal Health Services, which speaks mainly to compliance with bylaws, unpack what services are these, as well as provide the suggested operational costs for 2021.
Yes, we've budgeted 91 million. You know, this is our prime responsibility, Municipal Health Services.
Yeah.
Municipal Health Services is about food security. We must ensure wherever food is sold, in restaurants down to people on the street, that it's safe, water is safe. We also look where there's problems with the rodents. A major problem we have is with noise pollution. We have so many calls, and we have tried to sort out so many of the complaints about that. We also have the responsibility to ensure that government buildings from all spheres of government in our city are healthy, clean, so that humans can stay and work there, and other facets of environmental health. Yeah. So we make sure that our environment is healthy to such an extent that less people will contract diseases and have to go to clinics.
All right. Following requests for a clinic by some communities, I believe part of the capital budget will be dedicated to the construction of a clinic in Region 6. Where is the clinic, and where will it be estimated in terms of costing?
Yeah, the new Lusaka clinic is in Mamelodi East. We've already budgeted this current financial year, but for the new financial year, we budgeted 43 million. The construction is well on its way already, but we hope to complete it by the end of the next financial year. It's a beautiful clinic. It's going to be environmental friendly, so we look forward to serve the community and to be able to present them with a clinic of their own in an area that we often hear there's a request, and there is really a need for there are clinics not too far away, but they need one in that
region. Yes, that was my follow-up question, to say that what had prompted you to actually have a clinic within Region 6.
Yes, no, we've got several clinics there, and there are also some clinics of the Gauteng Health Department. We've got Stanza 2 clinic nearby, but there's such a I think there's quite a major influx into that area. And there's a small clinic nearby which is not adequate for our people. Some are treated there, but they need a proper one. And it was even about 4 years ago when I was with health that the members of the community came to see us. And I'm glad to be able to build this clinic for them.
Yes.
And we really hope they will use it, no doubt about it. And we really appreciate the assistance of the community and the ward councillor. Everything is moving swiftly, moving slow, it's moving smoothly. So this clinic will be ready, I believe, by the end of the next financial year.
So you have not really come across much challenges in putting together this clinic?
We had in the beginning, as you know, we've got different people who want to get jobs and so on. And it took us about 2 months just to get past that and to really start. But since it started, and that's why I appreciate the role of especially the regional councillor in that area who is assisting. We organized with the communities and all those problems are sorted out. We are a bit behind schedule at this point in time, and it was partly due to this and then a little bit of rain, but it's running. And I think the community will support us because they see this is a facility that they can really use, that they've been waiting for many years.
Yes. We heard that the mayor also touched on HIV and AIDS as well as TB. Can you give us as to how are you planning on fighting against TB, STIs, and the essential part of health promotion? What is the available budget? And according to you and your team, is this budget enough?
Yes, no, this is enough for us. We do what we can, and we always focus much on HIV, which is still very important. But I think we've got a major problem with TB in the city. So the 41 million that we're going to spend on that will be used for that, especially also for door-to-door activities to sensitize people, especially in the HIV field. 24 million we receive from the Gauteng Health Department, but the rest comes from our own resources, and we would like to bring down the incidence of TB, especially in our city.
All right. Thank you so much, MMC.
Thank you.
Thank you to MMC Sakiti Bloy once again giving us his view in relation to the budget. We have now yet another MMC coming on. We have Khoshi Maiba from the ANC, the opposition party, giving us his views in relation to the budget that was handed over by the executive mayor.
On the mark. Oh, on the mark.
Tata Maiba. How are you?
Structure or business specifically, and how they could help the healthcare system, especially during this pandemic right now. I would like to see improvements in housing, especially in informal settlements, and maybe a bit more of healthcare is a big issue right now. So just sort of see people being helped out, and then also the safety of the area and the neighborhoods.
In the 2021 budget speech, I expect government to talk about how they're going to spend more on infrastructure, healthcare and education.
The key focus area that should be attended is that townships where there's no electricity, libraries for children to study at.
We are now are talking to Kgoshi Maipa from the opposition party, the ANC in particular, and he will be taking us through the budget, his expectations, and also what is it that he has heard from councillor, or rather executive mayor of the city of Tshwane. Kgoshi Maipa, thank you so much for your time. If we can just take it through the budget speech. First things first, what were you expecting?
Really, we expect nothing much from the Democratic Alliance. The African National Congress, you will remember, from 2016 when the DA in a coalition with the EFF took over, we said these people don't have experience, they don't have a governance experience. Since 2016, they have changed at least 4 mayors. You'd remember that Soli Msimanga came with his own budget. It failed, it was never implemented. It was a budget of corruption. Then Mokgalapa came for a short stint, and he did other things that were not related to council management. He was removed. And then they put Abel Tau, you'll remember, that he was also acting mayor, and then they never implemented any budget or built one house since 2016. Now he's the 4th mayor. His name is Randall Williams, without any clue and understanding of how to govern the city. So the DA has brought instability with 4 mayors in a 5-year term. So really, there is nothing, and each one of them came with a budget that was never implemented, that was just hot air, promises that were never there, and they were never implemented. Because what the DA we have seen, what we know, and what we have seen in practice, is that they started with a big corruption of Glad Africa, you'd remember, with the coalition partners, with the EFF.
Yes.
And really they damaged the city. Now you will know that in the month of April, Moody's, for the first time in the history of Tshwane, downgraded the city in terms of financial liquidity and many other problems, and a cocktail of unfortunate circumstances that we find ourselves in and the residents of Tshwane.
All right. Give us your stance on the budget speech that was handed over today by the mayor.
No, remember the budget speech, the mayor is talking about the project of the ANC. You will know that Arieng is a BRT program started by the Estewal mayor, Dr. Ramkhopa, when he was the mayor. The DA has never come up with anything that is theirs that we can point out and say to the people of Tshwane that this was done by the DA. I mean, I'll give you an example. There is no one house. When the mayor comes here, ask him if there is any house that was built by a DA administration since they started in 2016. Let them give you a record of what has been done since the DA came into Tshwane that can show that the people can see with their visible eyes that it was done by the DA. Because the DA came here without experience. They came here with a coalition that was not based on the fundamentals of running and pushing governance. They've been really a disaster from day one till to this day. No one here in Tshwane can tell you what the DA has really done to change and ameliorate the socio-economic conditions of the residents of Tshwane.
All right. So your predictions as the ANC, looking into what is going to be happening?
The elections that are coming, the prediction as the African National Congress is that we have seen that the DA was battered in the last. I will tell you about just what has happened recently. In the super by-elections in November 2020, that was the first big elections after the COVID lockdown restrictions were eased. There were 95 by-elections. The ANC started with 64 by-elections. It ended up with 72 by-elections in that process, meaning that the ANC won more than 70% of the by-elections in that process. There was an election again, by-election in the last month. The ANC took 12 out of 14. There was a by-election yesterday. The DA has lost, you will know also in Johannesburg, wards. So there is no longer legitimacy for the DA. The ANC will come back. We have made mistakes as the ANC. We are in a renewal path right now. What we are requesting is that our people give us an opportunity, and we have realized our mistakes. We are ready to take over again and make sure that without arrogance that we are displayed here by the DA, which is really failing from one disaster to the next, we cannot say much but ask our people to give us an opportunity.
What is it that you think or you see as the ANC you will do better?
As the African National Congress, we have done better. We established this local municipality. You'll know this building we're standing on right now was an idea of the ANC. It was built not by the DA but by the ANC. The ANC has a lot of ideas in terms of solving problems. You would know that we have called on the National Department of Water to solve the issue of Hammarskraal because the DA, since they came in 2016, have never solved that problem. I mean, you would know for people who drive here around the city that the robots are not working for the past 4 years in the city of Tshwane, in the inner city central, because of lack of service delivery by the DA. The DA has been here from 2016. There is no excuse to say that they could not solve those problems in that period.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kgoshi Maipa, for that extensive explanation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I think there must be
following what we have received from Khoshimaipa to say that the DA are quite, in his words, incompetent and thinking that they will not be able to deliver. Them as the ANC ask for yet another opportunity, saying that they can actually do better. But at this point in time, we are with Councillor Dikeledi Seloa, who is the MMC for Transport. Councillor, thank you so much for your time. If we can just hit the ground running, what are the plans or interventions to ascertain that the capital city has a viable Wonderboom airport during the upcoming financial year?
Thank you so much for having me. Well, the first thing that everybody wants to know is that I now have an MOU with ABSA, which is Airport Company of South Africa, which is going to be assisting us in ensuring that we actually are able to implement projects, capital projects at the airport, and as well in ensuring that in the process we actually have an airport that meets civil aviation standards, and as well that it can actually be an economically viable asset for us as a city. So this is a work in progress where we've already started with our strategic plans, the work that AXA is going to do, projects that can be completed in the next 6 months, projects that are going to be done in 12 months, and projects that are going to be done in 24 months. So, and this is obviously because the MOU with AXA is up for a period of 3 years, but it's to get the airport up and running and do a complete turnaround of it, so that it's actually an asset that all the citizens can be proud of, and it can actually be a revenue stream for the city as well.
All right. Following the budget speech that we have just received from the Executive Mayor, would you say that you're satisfied with what has been budgeted for the Transport Department?
I think you can never necessarily be satisfied completely, and I say this on behalf of citizens. As the political head for the department, yes, I would obviously want more money.
Yes.
And I think every department at this point, considering what the impact of COVID has had in terms of even rates collection and taxes, the city is under financial strain at this point. But with the money that we have, we can make a difference, and that is what's important. We're not going to please everybody, but every community will at least get a project where we can at least in phases sort out the backlog in terms of service delivery, in terms of road infrastructure. I would love more, but you have to work with what is in the
What
books.
you have, yes.
And as well, you also don't want to over budget and have an unfunded budget.
Right.
So with having a funded budget, in terms of the money that is in the city at this point, and hopefully we move past COVID very quickly and everybody gets vaccinated, and the economy can start running and people can start getting employment, which will essentially mean that the city will be making more revenue.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Which will then change the aspect. But with what we have now and the situation, I am more than satisfied.
Just quickly on COVID, how has this badly impacted this department?
I think in terms of this department, it has impacted us in terms of projects, because if you look at level 4 and 5,
yes,
we got to a position where we couldn't have any construction work taking place. So that has put a long strain on the amount of work, and as well
Backlog.
with level 3 and 2, we're only working with 50% capacity on construction sites. So which means that our projects have delayed about 6 months to completion, and that is the impact, which means you spend more money essentially, and contracts where they were about to lapse, you have to ask for extensions as well, just purely because of the fact that if you don't have the extension, contractors are not going to get paid, and where it was not necessarily their fault, but it was COVID regulations that came into play.
All right. So the development of roads and stormwater infrastructure has been neglected in previous disadvantaged areas. Tshwane residents would surely want to know which areas will be targeted and developed in this financial year and 2021.
So for this financial year, what we're looking at is developing, majority of my departmental budget actually is going to previously disadvantaged communities.
Which are?
Mamelodi, where Sabanda Road, as the Executive Mayor had stipulated, is getting 15 million rand in Mamelodi for an upgrade. We also are looking at the Beitland Road in Soshanguve. We're looking at infrastructure development in Karangua, in Kangala, which was then absorbed as part of the city. So there are many areas that don't actually have the necessary infrastructure. We also have about appointed 22 contractors at this point to start projects from areas like Mabobane, Soshanguve, Harangua, not just putting in roads, but also putting in stormwater, because there's no point in putting in a road without the stormwater infrastructure there. So every ward and every community is going to get something, phases by phases, but we are now, I know that my
departmental budget mostly focuses on previously disadvantaged areas, and I think it's about 90% of my budget actually
going to them. And also because we talk about disadvantaged areas, how is the monitoring of these areas in terms of the budget is allocated and to see as to whether what is supposed to be done is being done?
So what usually happens is that we'll obviously go and have consultations with the communities and the councillors, review the areas, where our disaster areas are first, and then we start doing the design phase. So we can't just go construct a road, and which a lot of people don't actually realize is that we have to do designs first, and then it's the whole, supply chain process and getting a tender out and getting the appointments. So we'd go and do that and say which communities in need first. And the councillors, being the number one citizens in those wards, are also the first people to direct us that please, as a department, please start in this area. It highly floods. Please start in this area. It's an ulterior road, and this is where a lot of cars pass through. So we're not necessarily the blind leading the blind in this regard. But what it also is that as the political head as well, I do also go and do inspections with the technical teams to say, are contracts on time? Are they meeting the work that needs to be done? There are monthly reports that come to my office, but as well in terms of monitoring with the project managers is that we have a meeting bi-weekly to ensure that what is the update? Are there challenges on projects? Is there community unrest? And seeing that through as well.
All right. Where does the city stand with the funding of integrated rapid public transport network infrastructure?
Well, in terms of that infrastructure, I'm roughly about spending about 406 million on IRPTN development infrastructure. So this will be obviously for your Arieng as well, which will be targeting places like your Menlo Park, ensuring that residents can use the Arieng service to get to mainland. There is Mamelodi as well, the Dinibwem interchange, the Dallas interchange. There's also Bel Ombre as well. There is as well on our books, Atteridgeville as well. So there's a lot of infrastructure that is going into place, but there's also as well a position where we are now also going to be moving in mixed traffic. So we're spending that amount of money because some of the roads need to be upgraded so that the buses can actually operate there, but as well that there isn't a bottleneck, so people are not sitting in traffic then for hours on end just because now we're introducing a new service onto the roads. And it's also a way of also saying to commuters that if possible, use the bus and not your car, and just save as well on our carbon footprint as a municipality in that regard. So we are spending a substantial amount of money, and as well ensuring that the people of Mamelodi as well. So we're doing it in phases. Start focusing with Atteridgeville and Mamelodi, and then all the other areas in the city. So this is how we're just going about it and ensuring that people can commute with ease within the inner city and around the city.
And with the taxi industry, are you having a better communication with them?
I think, if I must be very honest, the taxi industry is actually one of my favorites in the department. It's a complex industry.
True.
It's got its own politics. And it's a place where you also need to tread very carefully. But once you have an understanding of how the taxi industry operates, they come to the table. And because of some of our grant funding, this is where we also do certain payouts that they get for us now putting a service and taking away some of their commuters. So we are having a great relationship with them in this regard. I mean, it is the bus industry, the taxi industry as well that is helping us operate the bus operating company for Mamelodi.
Yes.
And they are the ones providing the buses to actually when other bus services could not commute. So they got their own buses and get involved. So if you involve the taxi industry, you actually get a lot more out of what you need to provide to the citizens as well.
All right. I think maybe we can touch a bit on housing, the informal settlements in terms of the meter boxes as well. Can you also touch a bit on that?
Okay, so meter boxes, in terms of that, those will be in utility services. So there is obviously the rollout of prepaid meters that is happening in the city.
Yes.
That rollout is based on the fact that we are not targeting payers. We are targeting the people who are not paying, and that's why they're going on prepaid solutions, because there are people who consistently do not pay the municipality, and this is just to ensure that they can actually pay the municipality in this regard when it does come to the meters being rolled out. But as well, it's also about revenue collection, but as well, the more the city collects, the more services we can give, the more capital projects we can fund. And this is what most people don't actually realize, that if you are not a paying customer, it's very difficult for us to have money for projects. Because as a metropolitan, we do not get the same amount of funding as Category B and Category C. So we have less funding because our model is based just on revenue collection. So now with that, we are going to also be eradicating illegal connections. Another thing that people don't actually realize is that when they do land grabs, when it comes to housing, and they land grab on private land, the city is not obligated to provide them with services unless the owner of that land gives us full ownership. But as long as it's not our land, it makes it very difficult, because then it's a situation of wasteful and fruitless expenditure when audit findings come, because how do you put infrastructure on property that isn't your own? So this is where, if you look at in housing department, they are actually spending about 10 million rand on land acquisition to actually get some of the land from the owners who now do not longer, they cannot evict all those people. Because then it's another issue, and seeing that if we can then formalize those settlements as well.
All right. And in terms of housing, are there any informal settlements that are going to be formalized?
There are 19 informal settlements that are going to be formalized in terms of housing, but there's also 138 informal settlements that will be given rudimentary services. So that will be your water, electricity and sanitation, just the basics at this point in time, that they're going to get so that they can actually have the basic services to do their day-to-day affairs and live. You know, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a comfortable space to live in, but at least if you have those services, it gives a person a bit more dignity and pride in terms of where they're staying. But 19 will be formalized in the new financial year.
Do we know when this will be starting?
It will be starting at the new financial year. The process is already underway, as well as the process in terms when it comes to title deeds as well. Because in housing, they have about just over 10,000 title deeds that are outstanding for the last 15 years, and now they're starting a process of actually ensuring that those title deeds actually do get to the rightful recipients, and that those people can actually have full ownership.
Do we perhaps know where the formalizing will start, in which region?
The formalizing will be happening across the city. So if I can think from the top of my head for housing, there is in Mamelodi, there is in Garangua, it's extension 10, there is in Nelmai Pierce, I think it's extension 22 as well. And as well, I think there's Mabopani as well included in that.
Yes. How many years back of backlog is dated in terms of housing?
There's a lot. If you fully understand that the city of Tshwane has just been upgraded to be able to build houses, essentially. So in terms of the budget that exists in the housing department, they will be building about 509 social housing units as well. But as well, they will be upgrading hostels. So they will be upgrading hostels, and they budget for hostels about 50 million rand, and they are also going to be eradicating asbestos, and hopefully, and I can guarantee it's not going to be a Free State situation when it comes to the asbestos, but they are doing that. And for Atteridgeville Hostel, they're going to be spending about 3.8 million as well, the social one. And so there is a massive backlog. But as well as the city, we are working together with province, who the actual competency of building houses lies with the provincial and national government. But as the city, we've also at this point been upgraded to a point where we can build houses. So that's why through housing company Tshwane, they will be then looking into that aspect and also providing social housing and building in the new financial year 509 units.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you so much.
As we've just heard from the MMC of Transport, touching on a number of issues in relating to the community service delivery, she says that she is quite happy about what she has been allocated from the budget speech, and she's going to definitely work with what she has been given to ensure that service delivery is given to the people of the city of Tshwane, this being housing, transportation, and a number of issues surrounding the city of Tshwane. If there is one thing that she is quite certain of or happy about, it's that the people of Tshwane will receive services.
With regards to the Tshwane budget speech, I would like to see the government invest more in the youth, as most students are struggling to get funding. Most students couldn't even go back to university. So it would be really nice to see the government take extra precautions in making sure that every student in South Africa gets a proper education. The positive changes from the previous budget speech are that I see an improvement in basically the litter around the town. The town is really kept well clean, which I love that a lot.
My expectations for the upcoming budget speech is for them to show us on what they've did with last year's budget, and that can give us more ideas on what to look on further. So looking at things like toilets, chilling here in Church Square, we don't have toilets, and there's a lot of people coming in and out of Church Square. So that actually affects our hygiene.